Here we are. This is going to be the last episode for 2017. Unlike 2018, which I made the mistake in the pre-show before we even started going on. I was wanting to name this episode 2018 Year in Review. This is not 2018. This is 2017. The 2017 Year in Review. We go through all the great stuff that we had this year and, give some predictions and some things that we have to look forward to in the next. And with that, I guess we can go ahead and get the episode started, because as you can see and probably tell, I am, as usual, 100% on point and prepared for this opening.
You know, they say some things mature with time and get better, and then some things just stay the same.
Yeah, this definitely is not a fine wine that gets better with time. This is more like, that McDonald's cheeseburger you left in your back seat. As time goes on, you just kind of want to forget about it until it gets to the point where you're like, dear God, do something about it. Just get rid of it. Put it out of its misery. I swear I saw it move. So.
Or do you get to a point where you're so hungry?
Ooh.
You might want to actually just a little taste.
No.
Because they missed you last episode, so they might be hungry for some of that McDonald's.
some of that 2-week-old McDonald's. Which before we get into the episode, I do want to take. Speaking of last week's episode, for those of you in Twitch, you guys got to go through and appreciate it. For those not on Twitch, those on YouTube and on iTunes, I am very sorry. About last week's episode, there was a little bit of encoding problem, and so the video file was corrupted, and it took a lot of work trying to get it to actually output a workable file that would play, because at no point did I realize that you could actually just download the highlight from Twitch. It used to be really complicated trying to get that video file, and I guess at some point they did that within the past year. And so I finally was able to go through and get that and get it up and loaded, the day of this episode. So 2 weeks in the making. I hope it was worth the wait. And this episode at least should go up a little bit sooner, so it's almost like a belated Christmas gift, early New Year's celebration. You get 2 episodes for the price of 1. Maybe?
Wow, they've been working your spins real good, huh?
yeah, totes. And I mean,
impressive.
And then right now at almost 40% drop frames, I feel bad for the people on Twitch too right now. Thank you, Comcast. Thanks, FCC. Love you, net neutrality.
Woo! This is what it's gonna be like.
Sad but true. No, you just not.
Just all the fear mongering.
Yeah. All of it, right here, right now. Let's go. Speaking of fear-mongering, I think we're going to be doing some of that in a little bit.
Oh, God.
But I guess that also kind of qualifies as my weeks in gaming. Because, not a lot's been going on. I've been logging in to go through and do, the challenge rifts in Diablo, just to go through and get those bounty mats. I worked a little bit on pushing my way up through the seasonal journey. It just has been kind of like a time thing. I need to actually sit down. I think, as usual, the only thing that's stopping me from Guardian at the moment is 3 conquests and the 2-minute rift.
Okay.
So I will get that done eventually. Maybe we'll see.
Certainly doable. Just gotta find the time. How was the party?
The party was actually a lot of fun. It was, what was it? It ended up devolving into a gigantic game of what do you meme? You're talking
what
about.
do you mean?
Yeah, we were talking about memes in the pre-show. It's basically it's almost like Cards Against Humanity, only with memes. So
that sounds amazing.
Yeah, there's all just kind of like these meme-tastic responses, and a deck of pictures of popular internet memes, and so the picture will go up, and then you have your cards. That's just like Cards Against Humanity. You try and give the response that would best go with the photo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that. I mean, it makes sense. I think, can memes be the meme of the year? You know, if you wanted to look back, I feel like memes won this year. There was just so many of them, to the point where like something amazing would happen and it'd be here for 2 days, and then we're like, all right, where's the new meme?
Yeah. They're, you know, it's like, I think, what is it? One of the memes that I've seen in the past week was predicting the memes for 2018, and they were just random images that they threw together on a calendar.
I love it. I mean, it could honestly come to be true too. Someone just has to find the right scenario to apply that image.
Yeah, someone just has to go back and actually just, you know, they don't even need, memes don't even need a scenario anymore. They're just like, hey,
Nope.
we're just gonna throw shit at the wall and see what sticks.
I think my favorite from this year has to be the stock photo of the girl looking at the guy who's looking at the girl, and just the ridiculous amount of iterations that went through.
Yeah. I've liked recently, what is it, like the little 4-panel comic of the guy, you know, going home with the girl, and then, you know, like they're going to go through and get it on, so they're taking off their clothes, and he looks over at their dresser and it's like sees like the random image,
Yes.
and then it's him leaving. My favorite one is like they're on a spaceship. They're going back in, and they like go into like the med bay or something. He looks over, and it's a display, and it shows the xenomorph in her chest cavity because it's an X-ray, and then him jettisoning himself out of the airlock.
I mean, people are very inventive. That's why I love memes, because it's a creativity outlet, you know?
Yeah, there are people out there with far more creativity than I'm capable of, and I appreciate all the work that they do, essentially for free.
Yeah. Imagine if this was applied to anything constructive.
We would solve world hunger by now if we had as many people putting the amount of effort they put into memes into that.
Yep.
Pretty sure.
And speaking of being constructive, yeah, the last couple of weeks, more Diablo 3. Haven't really gotten too much in the way of new gear. I'm still hunting. I was mentioning on the last episode that the one piece that seems to elude my Crusader is Akon's gloves with all the right stats and also being ancient. And that is still the case in this episode. I have really good non-ancient ones now that almost have perfect stats across the board. Critical hit chance, critical hit damage, area damage, and cooldown reduction. But I just needed ancient so I can augment, man. Like I need my extra strength. My extra strength Tylenol via gloves. That's not a plug, by the way. No hashtag ad. They're not paying us enough to mention the name on it.
And speaking of which, Coca-Cola, we're still waiting on our Full Throttle sponsorship. Thank you very much. A question for you at this point, and with, you know, like how quickly that you can, you know, just like chew through like, you know, regular riffs for Death's Breaths and stuff like that, which do you find is the most efficient way of going through and trying to get yourselves those ancients? Is it like reforging the item, or like going through and upgrading gloves or yellow gloves?
That's a great question. I think the way that I'm looking at it, it's almost like a ticking time bomb. So the more I think I have time waning in the season, so like let's say I believe that it's a 12-month season, that it's going to stick to the standard. So each week...
A 12-month season.
Oh, did I say... Someone in chat just died. No! Season 1! 12 weeks. If I believe that it's going to be the standard 12-week season, then each week that passes, I'm looking at less and less of a time frame. So when I have all the time in the world, I'm patient enough to try and gamble the gloves, because that's probably the slowest method, but the most free, if you think about it. Like, you just get blood shards doing everything else. And then as you get deeper into the season and there's less time, more of the finite resources would probably be put towards it if I haven't gotten it by then. So maybe crafting some gloves, or maybe even using the reforges. But right now, I have priorities in other slots to use those things. So instead of gloves, I'm using my Death's Breath to make Crusader Shield, so I can maybe get a better Fighter's Wrath. And for the reforge, I'm working on the focus and the restraints, just because those are really hard to come by. for good affixes and being ancient. So right now I'm like trying to tackle 3 problems at once, but as time runs out, I'll definitely start to concentrate it all more on at least solving one of those problems, you know?
Mm-hmm. And so it's just kind of like what you can wait on versus what would give you more benefit now.
Exactly.
Whereas the augment, of course, would be great to go through and have. It's not as big of a power boost if you were to just get a better rolled shield.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's not going to super impact what I'm doing on a daily basis in terms of speed farming, you know, those mid-tier greater rifts, or of course like T13 don't need all that extra. But by the time I want to get to the point where it's all greater rift pushing, then I'm going to need as many things in my favor as possible.
And, you know, just given, you know, if we expect this to be a regular 12-week season, like how many keys are you shooting for?
It depends on what greater rift I have to do, because I'm looking at trying to make sense of the leaderboards in terms of like, you know, hopefully some of those marks won't be there by the end of the season. But I'm thinking it's probably going to take a 115 plus to flirt with the top 10. It seems like a lot of people are kind of stagnating around 116 right now for the Crusaders. I just did a 113 before stream started, so that's pretty exciting. So that's kind of helping me in terms of not necessarily needing as many keys, because if I keep working on, you know, where my threshold is one by one, week after week, then I can sort of like see what the work is ahead of me, versus if I were to just only do like 110 right now and then just farm, then I might need a lot more keys because I have no idea how many more greater rifts I'll need to push up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just trying to be as close from the outside in before I like fully concentrate on it. But I would guess probably it's weird. My end of season has never had a ton of runs because, of course, hardcore, like for the most part, end up dying. So, you know, it died before the keys run out.
And goddamn it, you stole my next question: is how is preparing for this from the softcore mentality like kind of like changed from, you know, playing hardcore? I know at least like for me, like this is my first season playing softcore, but it hasn't been too much of a change because just I think I've had like 3 or 4 days off since I got back from BlizzCon, so my play time is, you know, like 30 minutes here, 15 minutes there. So I might as well have just been playing hardcore for the amount that I'm playing. It wouldn't have made a difference.
Playing hard softcore.
Yes.
Limited time softcore. It's weird because I guess at some point I'm gonna probably do the thing where like I'll just remove my cheat death and try to get as many offensive advantages as I can and really fish, because you can do that. You know, it'll be a possible method for trying to get that one little bit of extra thing in my corner to beat whatever greater rift I'm stuck at. Right now, just even in like the greater rifts, when we're doing group comps and stuff, I've already been doing something like that where I sacrifice maybe something a little bit more defensive or even my cheat death because I have profit with Akrat's champion, so that kind of helps. Just to have more group utility, like long arm of the law, so the law's up longer for the group to benefit from it and things like that. So even that small little aspect of being in softcore now has made a big difference because it's helping the efficiency of the party, and I'm assuming runs are a little bit faster, added up over the course of a season, and you know how many more rifts we've been able to do versus playing it a little safer. Or of course the hardcore side of things would be not running as high as well too, right? Like not being able to have a group just jump together and say, let's try 105 together and see what happens, and you know, everybody dies.
Yeah, I was about to say that's where people die.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we put a couple of groups together without even having a support. Just be like, I mean, the only bad thing that could happen is we die and we lose a gem upgrade. So let's see what happens. And I'd be like, yeah, no, I think I'm just gonna do solo till we get the right comp together. If it were hardcore, so definitely a little bit more loosey goosey.
And overall, just how has the experience been? How have you been enjoying, you know, this softcore season?
I've been trying to wrap my head around like if I like it or not, because the one side of things, Dredd actually brought up a good point last episode where you said, you know, it's kind of funny that you're complaining about the RNG a little bit, because think about if you've died, you would have had, you know, to be replacing a lot of gear versus just aiming for this one piece that's eluding you right now. And to some degree he's right in the terms of like the woes of gearing your character, and like logging in, you're always getting better with softcore, which is a really weird thing to think about, because hardcore, it's kind of true, but you could easily reset a lot of that progress if you die, and then some of the mats you were planning on maybe banking up suddenly have to dip into in order to get yourself back on your 2 feet, you know? So it's kind of weird in terms of planning. Like, you can already start to see like where everything falls into place if you do what you're supposed to do. Whereas with hardcore, there's a lot more, I would say, unexpectedness. Like, each time you log in, you're not necessarily sure if you're just going to be making steady progress, because you could get a huge setback and a death.
Yep. That's one of the things I actually need to stop myself from, is because I have backup gear, you know, on my character. Like, oh, this is actually useless. Why am I still holding on to this piece of gear?
It's really hard to get out of that mentality. Like, I have pieces that are augmented. I'm like, well, this is not ever going to be better than this other one that I have augmented higher with better stats. But you just can't, like, I really have to just disenchant this? Are you sure?
Yep, just do it. Just let it go. Let it
Free
go.
the space, you know? So yeah, it's definitely been an interesting adventure. I would say that it's almost weird to come back to it after so many years of hardcore, and I think it's nice to at least kind of know what the other side, how they live. But I don't know, it would always be my thing. Like, I kind of like it as a one-off, but I would say if there were 4 seasons in a year, I'd probably do like 3 hardcore, 1 softcore. I couldn't see myself doing like a back-to-back softcore thing.
So for season 13, you expect yourself going back to hardcore?
Yeah, I've been saying like 95% sure going back to hardcore.
Yeah, and I guess it's one of those things, you know, we kind of take it a little bit out of structure or sequence, you know, from the show notes, but you know, we still don't have a PTR.
Yeah.
Speaking of season 13.
Yeah.
So
and you were just saying right before the start of last episode, because you were getting ready to head out for your party, and we were kind of having some text exchanges, you reminded me that, you know, we were in that window. Like, PTR either is coming this week or next week, or is it going to come?
Yeah. And
here we are.
Yeah, and here we are. It's pretty much, I think this is a pretty good indicator that, no, there is no PTR, and so season 13 is basically going to be just a, you know, just going to be a continuation. It's going to run off of the same patch as what season 12 did. There'll might be a smaller break time in between the seasons, and it'll just kind of roll over and go.
Yeah. Which seasons was it that did that previously?
Was it 7 and 8? That's
I've been trying to remember, but that sounds right. I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty sure those were the ones. Yeah, you know, you're right. The only other like far out scenario I could see is if season 12, because we were just talking about the standard length, right? But if it runs longer, which I don't think it will. But if it does, they could then start a PTR in January and then just have a longer season 12. And maybe for whatever reason, holidays, etc., they just weren't able to get it done here in December. But I think I honestly am on your side of thinking season 13 is very much going to look like season 12.
Yeah, that's, I mean, that's what it looks like. If we were going to have a PTR, unless, you know, like you just suggested, they were going to extend the length of the season past kind of like that 12 weeks, 3 months, then yeah, we would have it by now.
There's just not enough time. Like if you think about the other side of the calendar, once we hit the new year and they get back to work, you know, it's usually the second week in January that things kind of spin back up. So if they came out the gate with the PTR then, you'd only be really PTRing for like 2-3 weeks if you assume season's going to end early February, mid-February. That just doesn't really give you much to do, unless it's going to be a super small patch. Like, I was actually thinking maybe we would get a patch, but it would just have like bug fixes, maybe some small things that don't need to be tested publicly, and then they just go that way. Yeah,
just, you know, like a bigger round of hot fixes that might require a client-side patch or something like that, but nothing else.
That could certainly be the future.
Yeah, that very well could. But before I guess we get too far into the future, should we take a look back?
Back into the past, yeah, man. It's time to wrap up 2017. Only what, 4 days left of this year? It's crazy how fast it went by.
It really is. It just went and kept coming. You know, regardless of you know, the amount of content and patches for this year, you know, compared to some other years, I think we still had a pretty good run. Fuck.
Oh, did I lose you there for a sec?
Yeah.
There you are.
Okay. And it looks like everything is frozen on my side. And we're back. Okay.
All right.
We're
Cut
there?
and go.
Yes. Yes. So, all right. All right. Everything looks good. Everything looks good. Maybe?
Excellent.
Yes? No? Okay. Weird.
Indeed.
All right. Where were we?
You were talking about the patches and such for the year, content.
Yes. It was, you know, if we go back and look at it, we actually had, I want to say it was a pretty decent year between, like, the Necromancer, you know, patch 2.6.1 and the massive balance updates. We had a pretty good run, pretty good year.
Yeah, the way I was looking at it, you can almost split the year in two, where the first half was really Necromancer specific, you know, to the point where we were getting all those complaints like, hey, have an episode where you don't talk about the Necromancer. And we sort of eventually did that, but, you know, there was so much to talk about because it really dominated a lot of the news cycle and a lot of what we were anticipating. And it was really if you look from January to June, it was Necromancer beta popped up in the middle of there. We had PAX East where they unveiled the female Necro. Got to connect with Dread on that one, and you got to do the summit as well. So that was kind of like some of the cool events that transpired within that first half of the year.
Yeah, and I mean the Necromancer summit was the first, like, global summit that Diablo has done. That the Diablo team, you know, managed to go through and put together. So that was definitely a pretty cool thing. Hoping that we will see more of that in the future.
I was just gonna say, imagine a future where you get called in on, hey, here's what we're doing with this next thing. You got any ideas?
Yeah, this unannounced project. Come try it out.
Ooh, tingling with excitement.
Yep. Now I want to talk about the future. Screw 2017. Let's talk about what comes next.
Soon.
Yeah. No. Yeah, 2017 was pretty much the year of the Necromancer, and that's what most of it revolved around. But even that kind of is, I still think that patch 2.6.1 really doesn't get the respect that it's due from a lot of people in the community, or at least a lot of people that like to go through and complain on the forums and on Reddit. Just with, you know, like, how amazing, you know, without any new content, that it, you know, just completely revitalized the game with just some of the best balancing that they've done since, period.
Yeah, like maybe for the first time, honestly. You know, Crusader is kind of one of those first moments you can think of where things really got shaken up with ROS releasing, and then there were some changes to classes and things like that as new sets came out for the Crusader, and as the meta, they kind of started to deal with things being a certain way with the meta because the seasons were starting to pop up and these group comps were starting to be, you know, proliferated widely. It was weird to kind of take that as a past sort of benchmark and then look at this year and just realize that we hadn't really had anything. Like, you know, they did some tinkering with getting rid of that, like, tri-support meta with the Wizard and the Twisters. So we had some, but it was all through nerfs, you know? Like, it doesn't necessarily feel great when you're seeing some things go away and a change come because they're taking rather than giving. And this was just all gifts, basically. It was an early Christmas in 2.6.1. I feel you. I think that to some degree it's a little understated. Maybe just because numbers might not excite some people, but I think for the people that did come back and got to just relive their glory days in old playstyles, they definitely, I saw a decent amount of people just being like, oh my gosh, the glee of my multi-shot does crazy damage again. Like, it's one of the best Demon Hunter builds now. And, it's it definitely will go down in the history books of being one of the better patches of this Reaper of Souls cycle. You know why? Sorry, go ahead.
No, you first, sir.
I was gonna shift us just a little bit back to Necromancer because I wanted to at least levy one complaint. I was thinking about what my favorite season was from this year, and it by far had to be season 10 because it was the first time where the meta started to get shaken up a little bit because previously it's been, support monk, support barb, witch doctor, trash killer, and then the monk was the rift guardian killer. And season 10 was the first time that the demon hunter came back into the picture as a boss killer. And then you also had the wizard contending for a spot. And monk technically could have still done it, but no one wanted to do that anymore. So it was a little bit of a shakeup. And it was great. It was like, man, I can actually play my demon hunter in parties. Feels so awesome. The shadow build is, we used to laugh at the shadow builds, and it was now really good. And then Necro comes waltzing in, and it's like, hey, single target damage. You guys are funny.
I'll show you single target damage.
And it took our germs, man.
Yep. Yep.
So that's my one complaint, is that the Necromancer just destroyed any hopes of Demon Hunter. Demon Hunter had one season in the sun, and it's kind of silly to complain. Well, not silly, but it's kind of funny to complain, I guess, because there was that previous season where, what was it, like 2 Demon Hunters as the DPS with the slow lightning balls.
I think it was like season like 1, 2, and 3. I think it was like the Demon Hunter was the top.
Yeah, they were. Oh yeah, they had like the auto turret things or whatever. Yeah, they had a couple of like crazy builds.
Yeah, I think it mostly was like you said. It was especially I think season 1 was before the Marauders rework when it would just automatically fire your hatred spenders on their own based on attack speed, and so you could go through and get them to do like the weird wonky stuff where you would do, I think it was like, you were still doing like multi-shot and cluster arrow, and then if you were feeling cheeky, I think you were also putting on one other hatred spender if you could get the attack speed for it, because they had different internal cooldowns based on the attack speed with how often they would fire. And there was
right, because it was all the spenders you had on your bar, right?
Yeah, and there was a third spender that didn't trigger the cooldown of the other ones to go through an attack. Because it was like they each had, like, it would use the ability, and then they had like different intervals for how often that they could attack, and if you got ones with different intervals, it wouldn't interrupt the cycle. And then it probably was like season 2 or whatever when they changed it, and it only fired when you fired. And then that was with the Kreider shot, so that way you could then benefit from just spamming ball lightning with all the sentries down and just annihilate everything.
Right, and then you had because they move slower, so then it's so funny, man. It's kind of crazy how far we've come. Because actually now Marauders, kind of bringing it back to the present day too. Marauders M6, the pure sentry build, is now one of the like higher performing builds. So it really just, talking about cycles, I guess we've been obeying Necromancers this whole time, really.
Yeah. It's the natural order of things. Everything has its balance, and everything will go through this cycle. I guess.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things I did forget that Watson is mentioning in chat is also 2017. We got the Darkening of Tristram, which is about to come back here at the beginning of January.
Speaking of cycles, yeah, every January that will be a thing now. So that's right. The first time we saw it was earlier this year in the, what was it? Glorious Retrovision.
Yes.
TM.
The eight directions. Stereo sound.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
It was a trip.
Yeah, so if there's any achievements that you were missing or didn't get any transmogs, then, here you go. January's coming up. You'll be able to go through, get any of those things that you missed, or just run in and have at it. And if I don't think that we will have the season opener, in time for Darkening of Tristram, because that was actually last year. We got to do the season opener in it, and you could run through to was it the 4th or the 8th level and get the cache of gems.
That's
that
right.
You got the higher level gems at a very low level to then give you a great boosting point for like the XP and weapon damage.
Well, all the little tricks of the trade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't feel it'll quite line up this time around, but it actually makes me wonder, because we'll be kind of deeper into season 12. I wonder how much people will actually explore it or utilize it, because it's not like you'll be able to get the red soul shard again, that legendary gem. I feel like they did so many things to it at this point that it's not probably going to find a use for anyone that's doing high level stuff.
Yeah, sadly. Very, very sadly. I wish that they would go through and do some other legendary gem that you could, equip in the helm that would actually have some use.
Even if it were just like a T13 kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
Something to mix it up. I wonder if, some people were asking if there would be any new things that happen to the Darkening of Tristram. My gut instinct is no, that it'll just be the same event, and like you said, if you miss some things, you'll be able to pick it up, or if you just weren't around, you can catch it for the first time. But I find it hard to believe that there'll be like a new pet or a new achievement or two or something like that.
Yeah, I doubt it. And if there was, there'd be usually whenever they do something along those lines, there's some patch or data mining.
Oh yeah, because we need the strings.
Yeah, that people would be able to find the strings and the updates ahead of time.
Good point.
So yeah, it's probably going to be just the same exact thing. With you can see all the achievements for it now to see what you're missing and what to go for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was going to ask you, what was your favorite season? Was there anyone in particular from this past year that stood out to you, or that you felt like you probably got the most out of or accomplished the most?
Well, I do have to say the season 10 was really good, being able to have like that last big hurrah, at least for myself with the Demon Hunter. It just, felt so good. That Shadows rework with all of the items was really making it, amazing. It was so much fun. But going into... I have to default to Season 11 for the Necromancer, just because it was the first season I got to play with the Necro, because Season 12 has kind of been a bust for me. I am still looking forward to going through and having some sort of decent amount of playtime with the Pestilence set, as I did get that together, and I've kind of been using that one to maybe run just like a little rift here and there. And it's so much fun. Have I mentioned yet how much I love the Pestilence build? Have I worn that one out yet? Does anyone want to complain about how much I talk about it? But anyways,
well, we have at least 6 more years, right? If you're going to match your D2 D2 run.
Yeah. So, season 11 was probably my favorite season, just being able to go through and play as a Necromancer. But season 12 did have that awesome point of going through and running a Greater Rift 65 or Greater Rift 70 without a single ancient, and being like, oh, this isn't bad. It's like, oh dear God, this is where the power levels have gotten to. Just compare this all the way back to season 1, before ancients, and how far you could get.
Yeah, you basically doubled what you could have done, because back in season 1 it was like, oh, you did a 35, hey,
yeah,
you go Glen Coco. And now it's like 35. Yeah, you do that before you get your 6-piece set. It's like, don't talk to me until you've done 80.
You're hacking. Doing a 35 without a set. What the hell?
Oh, that's crazy, man. We definitely have come a far, far, far way. Power-wise, I would say even just the community's ability to sort of deign the future, if you will, because there's a lot I think that was seen from PTR, and maybe not even deign the future in terms of making good predictions, but just being able to get a grasp of this is what we're going to do in the season. And to some degree it always shifts or changes a little bit, but I think that players just got more sophisticated, more savvy in figuring out these group comps and taking advantage of all the different changes. It could have been the slightest we're just tweaking this number, this map is what we'll use, or conduit works this way now, and there's just so many small things that had these ripple effects, and you saw them taken advantage of, for better or worse. Now we're with rat runs all day. But it's just kind of crazy to see the efficiency level, being able. I remember like it was a huge deal when people were getting like Paragon 3000 out of season, right? Like in non-season, we're like, holy crap, these guys have high Paragon, and now people are doing that in season, no problem.
Yeah, well, I mean, Diablo is, it's always has been a very, data and numbers heavy game. It's a lot of the community is all about, the theory crafting and just, digging into those numbers, seeing what works and what's best. Diablo 3 is a bit more abstract than what Diablo 2 was, and so it requires a little bit of real-world testing, but for the most part, the community kind of has all that stuff down, and there's not a lot that they need time to figure out.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's a refined process now.
That it is.
Oh man, and I'm just realizing now the one other thing that we didn't really touch, I guess because maybe it's so recent though, we didn't mention BlizzCon from this year too.
Oh yeah, that is true. That one definitely, it felt more of a kind of like a Blizzard and a community celebration than it was like kind of like a big Diablo moment.
Diablo, exactly. That's exactly how I feel too. Yeah. So it almost like when you're thinking of your Diablo year in review, you almost don't include BlizzCon because it feels more umbrella, like more over the top of it all. It was kind of the cap of here's all the things that Blizzard did this past year. And also, like, there was a small Diablo presence. I think I still, like, one of my favorite things, though, is your story with that girl on the wizard. That's probably my favorite take. Like, if I remember anything random from BlizzCon 2017, it'll probably be that story for some reason.
But that still is just such a beautiful moment. Because you're just sitting there watching someone that obviously this is the first time playing Diablo, and then realizing, oh shit, I could do this. This is what this button does. 5 minutes into the game, and I discovered right click.
Amazing.
And then,
it's some allegory for like real life struggles somehow.
I'm sure. I hope that she completed the rift, and that she actually went through and got it down. But yeah, it was beautiful. It was definitely beautiful.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Is there anything else that we I feel like we pretty much hit the year, like it, as much as there were like some pretty big spikes, I feel like in general it wasn't too many true hallmark moments. Like it really was like Necro beta, Necro release, 2.6.1 PTR, 2.6.1 release, and then BlizzCon. Those are kind of like the hallmark moments of the year.
Yeah, I want to say the really like the three biggest moments was like the Darkening of Tristram, the Necromancer, and 2.6.1. The Necromancer, of course, ate up a lot of the focus and development time for 2017. I want to say it was definitely well worth it with what we got out of it, and it was. Just like an awesome addition to the game. I thought it did the legacy of the Necromancer in D2 a great service, and so I like that. And then patch 2.6.1, as kind of like being the last patch of 2017, was great. That with all the balance that it went and added in, brought back so much playability.
Yeah, you got some new, and then it's kind of like that wedding thing, right? Like. Something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. They borrowed the Necromancer from D2, brought it to D3, made it new. Something old, they brought back a bunch of old builds. Something blue, a bunch of magic blues dropped, maybe? I don't know. There's probably better blue. Blue goblins. But yeah, it was great. I think a solid year for Diablo. Actually, if you had to grade it, I'm going to put you on the spot. If you had to grade it in terms of years, we're like 5 years into this Diablo 3 game. What grade does it get?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I know. I don't even know what my answer is.
Yeah. Because I mean, I also like completely forgot because this year we also got Shrouded Moors.
Oh yeah, with 2.6 or no, with the Necro, we got the new maps because we got Temple Firstborn, Shrouded Moors.
Yeah, because the Shrouded Moors, I actually in the Temple of the Firstborn were actually really cool because it slightly pushed the storyline of D3 further. It took it past the events of Reaper of Souls, and like one step more with where the story might be going, where we might be headed, and just maybe they haven't completely finished up the story of D3 before they move on though. With the lack of announcements at BlizzCon and the lack of PTR going into season 13, maybe not.
There's always that small percentage chance, though.
Always the chance that they'll hit us with something out of left field, but I think this is, for years of the doom and gloom prediction of hashtag maintenance mode, it might finally be getting here.
It's actually arrived.
Yeah. But yeah. I mean, this would be like obviously there's gonna be your kind of like your highlight in moments for this past year, but we're starting to get to the point where we need to start talking about the future.
Yeah, it is. I guess the pivot point. I want to give it a grade just to kind of throw one out there. Maybe someone will argue with us via emails or something. I think I have a little more at stake in grading this year too, because being able to be on the stage at BlizzCon is probably the highlight of my Diablo career so far. And I would say that I'm not assuming that will ever happen again. If it does, then maybe we'll have to reevaluate the grade, but I want to say it probably gives it a higher grade, at least on my end, because that was awesome. Never in my wildest dreams I think I'd be able to be that involved with a BlizzCon. So I'd probably grant it like an A-, B+. Because I wasn't necessarily, I was hyped for Necro being added to the game just as something fresh.
Yeah.
But Necro didn't quite hit me as hard, so it doesn't move my meter as much. But then again, like the Season 10 stuff with the Shadows Demon Hunter, that was huge. That was easily my favorite season that we've had so far. So that then kind of balances that out. So then BlizzCon kind of pushes up a little bit more. So yeah, I'm thinking that's what I'm going with.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with just like the little bit of pushing the story forward. The Necromancer, it was definitely awesome. Seeing you up on stage and cheering you on for that, and then actually being able to go through and be a part of the first global Diablo summit that they did with the whole Necromancer, being a part of that, especially just for a class that's so near and dear to me. That was great to go through and be included in that. So yeah,
definitely some unique memories from this year, right?
Oh, by far. This was I guess for us was probably one of the greatest years. And this is going through and kind of like a great like counterpoint, because if you go through and when we both really started being heavily involved in the Diablo community instead of just like kind of like the cursory like special guests on the Diablo II podcast, was the Reaper of Souls launch party, and just kind of like this is a really cool thing. These are some really cool devs, and this is a really cool community that I 100% absolutely have to go through and be a part of in some way.
It's kind of poetic. If this is maintenance mode, and we can kind of use this to pivot maybe to what we're thinking happens next, but if this is maintenance mode, if this is kind of the end of the Reaper of Souls saga, then there is that nice poetic sort of circle where, it started with the launch, like you and Archon being like, okay, we actually have to get this podcast off the ground. The expansion has finally launched, and being able to be part of like some of the last major events in this Reaper cycle. I dig it. So what happens next? Tell me, 9.
Well, I mean, I guess we don't know what Season 13 means, because we have had, one other instance where it went from season to season with no patch. So there's no telling that maybe they're just working on something else and they didn't have anything ready to show at BlizzCon, I get the sneaking suspicion just the unannounced project has been in development for, or at least in the background development for what? This is going to be, has it been 1 year or 2 years? It's been 2 years?
Yeah, they were going on 2 years now.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that stuff was like 2016-ish.
Yeah. That was, so we've going into like 2 years since we started seeing the job postings for the unannounced project.
Yeah, like we've been without, think about it, we've been without Josh for, I think, like a year and a half now.
Yeah, because that was July of 2016.
Yep.
And so, I mean, I'm pretty sure that anything that they would want to go through and do would kind of start being hammered out as far as like, this is our game plan. Here's our game engine. You know, here's the design philosophy and such for what we're going to go through and do with whatever this unannounced project is. And that's where we're going to go from here. And, you know, at some point you have to, if it is, and the expectation is, of course, Diablo 4 as opposed to Expansion 2. And you're going to have to stop development on D3 to put everything into D4. You know, and so maybe this is it. You know, maybe this is the point where we go through and have that. And they just, you know, hunker down and it's, you know, all full steam ahead. Still doesn't mean that we will necessarily get a Diablo 4 announcement at this year's BlizzCon. It could still be a lot of time in between, just like looking at the production history of D3 itself, where we went, what was it, 4 years from announcement to release? So... Yeah, no guarantee that will be a BlizzCon announcement this year. We can hope. It'd be great, but yeah.
I think it's also important to key in on that they're not afraid to release or make announcements about releases at other venues too. Like they've used PAX East with Hearthstone. Gamescom was where Reaper was announced. So, you know, even if you get to 2018 BlizzCon, it's like... Answer my pants. I don't see anything for Diablo. Is hell actually on fire now? Like, is this really bad? You know, it doesn't stop it from 2019, maybe early in that year, because PAX East is usually that spring. From then, and maybe it bleeds over to that. Or, I mean, you know, it's we're always trying to read these tea leaves in the future. I think a lot of people want to see it at BlizzCon because that's kind of the where all the eyes go, right? Like every year people are like, oh, we're not on the main stage. Oh, it's bigger, it's smaller than the bathrooms. So it's like this huge concentration on BlizzCon. I feel like it'd be such like a big, I don't even know what the word is, but like, here you go, community. Like we gave you that moment in the sun that you've always been begging us for. So to do it anywhere else, like, I don't know. I hope it is at BlizzCon.
Yeah, we can only hope. But then, you know, it's like Diablo doesn't have a lot with announcements at BlizzCon besides like classes, just because D3 itself was announced at the Worldwide Invitational in Paris.
That's right.
And then Reaper of Souls was announced at Gamescom in Germany.
Yep.
So does this mean we have to keep an eye on the announcements in Europe? Is there anybody that could give us a heads up so that way we can book our plane tickets in advance and know that we have to go to this some obscure games convention or whatever, like in Czechoslovakia or something?
SVR, get the beds ready.
Yeah, please. So yeah, that'd be appreciated, because that's something that whatever this is, like. There's now the need with like the podcast and everything else that we just have to be there. Whatever the announcement is, we have to be there, wherever it takes place.
I would hope that the influencers or like the people of the community would get some sort of heads. They can't they're not gonna say, by the way, here's your press release and don't say anything. I mean, maybe they could, NDA embargo, unless it's such a huge guarded secret. Actually, that makes me wonder. I wonder how many people, they might tell the media maybe hey, be here at BlizzCon because something big's happening, and then Overwatch happens. But I wonder how many people had some sort of foresight of you have to be at this event if you want to break a big story. I wonder if something like that would be kind of We really think you should come to, you know, friggin' Australia because we're gonna announce the new game here or something like that.
Yeah, I guess it's hard to tell in this day and age because the landscape has changed like so much. It used to be, you know, all fan sites, and then it kind of transitioned a little bit in, you know, like the fan sites and YouTubers, and then like we don't really do anything with fan sites. And it's all YouTube, and then it started, well, we're not really doing a lot with YouTube, so it's all the Twitch streamers, and we're still gonna, you know, like go and include in, but honestly, there's not a lot of fan sites that are still left out there.
No.
Like Blizz Pro and Blizzard Watch are like two of like the multi-game ones that I can think of, and then you have other ones kind of like, you know, MMO Champion, Diablo fans and such, which are, you know, they're bigger than a fan site, you know, so they actually have you know, Curse and Twitch backing them up. But yeah,
that's right.
The landscape is definitely completely different if you were to go back to like 2008 when D3 was announced, and even, you know, very largely going back to 2000, what was it, 2014 when Reaper was announced, or was that 2013?
No, you're right. Well, 2013 with the rollout, but
yeah,
the release 2014, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, the landscape is changing quite a bit. It does make you wonder kind of what the avenues will be. Where will they go next? What's the next big platform to get information out there? Certainly a future forward-looking thing. I'm still trying to figure out, well, this is something for later. Maybe an after-show thing, but like, well, yeah, maybe later. It has nothing to do with Diablo 3. Anyway. So yeah, I guess that kind of ties both D3 predictions and future franchise predictions together. And our show too. I mean, we're gonna be here, right? Like, we style this as a Diablo 3 podcast, but whenever the next thing comes, I assume we just kind of easily morph ourselves to the next thing as well, right?
Yeah, and I think actually I'm gonna have to go through and pull this back up, but I'm pretty sure that the tagline, like on iTunes, is just a Diablo podcast.
Oh,
not.
Well, there you go. Look at that. We were covered already.
Yeah, we had the foresight, you know, to go through and do that. And it was, it wasn't. I don't think that it's just a Diablo 3 podcast. It's just Westmarch Workshop, a Diablo podcast.
Boom.
Yeah.
So we're prepared, no matter what they call it. If it's gonna be Diablo cards, Diablo Mobile Royale.
Yeah.
Actually,
and no, I just went and looked it up, and it is a Diablo 3 podcast, so we're gonna have to change the RSS feed.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Just rebrand a whole new one. What if there is no Westmarch in D4 or whatever the next thing is?
No, we defended Westmarch.
Oh, so it has to live on.
It has to, right? It has to. And then, yeah, like Diablo 4 is going to take place in not Sanctuary. You know, it's
on the moon with Pokemon.
Yeah, with penguins.
Archon's already there, man.
He's playing like fifth dimensional chess. But yeah, well, I guess we'll go through and look into that. But yeah, that'd be weird. What if we go into a Diablo game where there is no Westmarch? What will we? Why do you pose these questions? Now I'm not going to sleep tonight. I'm wondering about how we're going to brand this thing in the future.
I'm sorry. No, the old guard will remember. They'll know.
Yeah.
You remember?
I remember.
I remember.
I remember. But yeah, I mean, and we've always been, you know, more of a community-focused podcast. We used to do kind of like the builds of the week and stuff like that, and it's always something that we could all kind of like, you know, round back to. Just like, hey, check out this thing, you know. And there's gonna be the crazy, kooky, you know, the sort of, if you remember, like the Play Your Way Thursdays. Hey, some guy ran a Crusader Fist of the Heavens build and cleared a 110. Check this out. You know,
crap. Yeah, we definitely. I'm sure we'll be looking for some items like that to highlight because things might get scarce here in the future. Quiet before the storm, if you will.
Yeah, but no, there's even if we go into, you know, 100% full maintenance mode, there's still stuff to talk about, and And, you know, who knows? Just because it goes into maintenance mode, we could still have some rumblings of Diablo 4, Diablo Next predictions going into this next year's BlizzCon. It might not be that big of a dry season. Who knows? There's always something that they could do to surprise us, you know?
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, even going back and looking at it, where we were a year ago, there was the Blizzard Entertainment went through and signed the deal with Penguin Publishing to go through and switch it. Now they've done a StarCraft novel and a couple of Warcraft novels, but they did say back then that they would be looking to do more publishing across all of their franchises. So who knows? We might go and get a Diablo novel or some fresh new lore. It's what they did as a filler in between Diablo 2 and Diablo 3. Was there's a bunch of novels that spawned from Diablo 2, but then the Sin War trilogy was supposed to be a direct tie-in between Diablo 2 and Diablo 3, giving you some more backstory of Sanctuary and focusing in on what the World Stone was. Though eventually the narrative of Diablo 3 changed. It was originally supposed to be focused on the World Stone and its impact and correlation with all of creation, but ended up not working out. They didn't really like where that was going, and so they changed it. And so it kind of changed where the Sin War trilogy's place, as that bridge moved. It was still like a really nice story in between, learning the lore and history of everything, but no longer had as deep of a connection to the games as they wanted. We could still maybe go through and see another novel or something else go and come out to help connect Diablo 3 into whatever comes next.
You're certainly right, yeah. And I'll have to read some of the lore. We can have a whole lore episode. Holy moly.
Oh, we could. I'm actually... I am... The one thing that I have had time to do is read. And so I've burned through a lot of my reading list. I'm almost done with my backlog, and the next thing that I was going to go back and read again after I was done with all of that was Storm of Light, which was the Reaper of Soul tie-in novel. And so, if you need a reading buddy, we can sit on Skype and we can read, to each other.
Can you just read it to me like a real life audiobook? That can actually just be we'll just do episodes where you just read the lore. That'll take up at least like 20 episodes.
Oh, I'm sure. That's I went through and I grabbed the Humble Bundle for some better video editing software. So that way I could actually go through and maybe, like, if we are going to have like a lot of dead time, you actually have the ability to go and put a lore series together. Everyone and their brother has gone and done like some sort of like lore series and then dropped off after a couple episodes, and it's just like, I need to do this at some point. Even Riker is doing a lore series now, so it's like,
I saw that.
Yeah, and it's like, and he's doing a good job. Not to take away from him or anything like that, but it's just like, lore is my thing. Why haven't I done this? I need to get my life together. What's going on?
Yeah, man, that's your next avenue for sure.
Donation goal for reading a lore in 9 Schwarzenegger impression.
Oh God,
that would be beautiful.
The world's not ready. Maybe next year. Cool, man.
We'll have to go through and see. It's like I said, like we were just talking about, there's plenty that we could go through and do. If Naruto can do like 100 episodes of filler, I think Westmarch Workshop can too.
Challenge accepted.
Our writing can't be any worse.
We don't even write.
Naruto didn't, so like we won't.
Freestyling, baby.
It's not like it's any change to our normal episodes. Lack of writing, planning, or forethought.
Or foresight.
Yeah.
We got this.
Unless the episode where we go and we talk about rogues and Amazons. That one we have to talk about foresight.
Hey.
I did it.
It's your dad's favorite Diablo jokes.
We could do an episode of nothing but Diablo dad jokes.
That challenge accepted.
All right, coming to you in
Let's do it.
April.
There it is.
Does April 1st land on a Wednesday? I had to look this up now.
To make it so.
No, it's a Sunday. Gosh,
So we can observe it.
Yeah, I like that. We can definitely observe it.
There we go. All right, so I guess that's it, huh? 2017, it's here and gone.
Yeah, 2017 is here and gone. 2018 just around the corner, and this will be an interesting year, more or less. I think 2018 is going to be full of a lot of waiting and a lot of anticipation, just to see what comes next, especially starting off this way, and not necessarily for the next game, but what will we get? Will we get a new patch? Will we get another balance patch? Will we get any type of updates? And could we get a big BlizzCon announcement? There's just because the year might start off on a whimper doesn't mean it won't end with a bang.
Amen to that. I like that.
Yeah.
Well said, sir. Yeah, 2018. Show us what you got.
Yeah, and just to go through and start your year off right. I do have to go and give a shout out to Watson. He's here in chat with us right now. Been a long-time listener of the show. This was originally supposed to be a Christmas gift, but then timing and such, it was bad. I'm sorry. It's my fault. It's all my fault. But we have a gift at least to go through and start off your New Year's. Watson sent us in a code for the Rise of the Necromancer pack. So if you are playing Diablo 3 on PC, this is PC only, sorry for the console players, but this code should work for anywhere in the world, that you can go through and write into us your answer to a question, which I'll give in a second, in order for a chance to win the Rise of the Necromancer pack. Now you can add it on to your game or give it away to a friend that might not have picked it up, whatever you choose to do with it, but this is a gift coming from Watson, and we thank you and appreciate that greatly. The one stipulation was that it had to be given away with a lore question, and since we're already talking about lore, might as well. And so I went through, I did some scrounging, because I didn't want it to be, I wanted it to be a hard question, but not that bad of one. And so I think I found a pretty decent one that's not just an easy Google search away in order to get the answer to. But this one, and since it is the Necromancer, it's about Necromancers. And the question is, in the novel Legacy of Blood, the Necromancer Kara Nightshadow takes what vessel from Gale Cool to... oh my god, Luke Ghislaine. Why did I forget that name? Yeah. So, what was the name of the ship that she took from Gale Cool to Luke Ghislaine? If you can answer that, go ahead and email us at westmarchworkshop@blizzpro.com for your chance to win a Necromancer pack. And
I got it. Is it the USS Corpse Lance?
That's close. We might have to ask the judges on that one. Yeah.
Judges?
Yep.
Oh, I'm getting a nope from the Russian judge.
Yet. All right, but yeah, well, so go ahead, simmer on that one, and we will announce the winner on our next episode, which should be January 10th. So our next episode, January 10th. So go ahead, send us in your answer to that. What was the name of the ship that Kara Nightshadow took from Gale Cool to Luke Ghislaine? Yeah, let us know.
Sweet.
But with that, we're gonna go ahead and I believe hit up the community section here, and we got a couple of emails. Despite the fact that I flubbed and didn't get the episode out in time, but people still wrote into us. Always appreciative of that.
The read our minds.
Yep, and the going theme of tonight's episode, this one comes in from Sergeant Psycho. Wanted to go through and give us a 2017 wrap-up. Sup, fellas. Happy generic end-of-the-year holidays to all the Nephilim of Sanctuary. My 2017 in review. Well, as you're aware, there was a sizable tour all around Honduras this year. saw some sights and made some 9-ball and made 9-ball shiver constantly with all of my reported temperatures. I'm sure that there's a few in the audience that can attest to the feeling of stepping through the town portal in Westmarch once again, and it's quite a rush. There was a brief interlude with corpse lances for everyone until my recent stay in southern Westmarch. I'm a fan of the new class, but I'm still a demon hunter through and through. With just a few changes, my Unhallowed Essence was able to go through a Greater Rift 93 without updating any of my augments. Of course, that's when the good old connection doesn't slow down. Feel your pain. And that's just from a filthy casual. I passed my Iron Wolf school, and as of writing this, I'm prepping on moving to Eastern Westmarch. I'll be teaching lots of new Iron Wolves how to use potions and health globes. Commentary on non-season material stories. My current situation is pretty funny. I have a ton of Death's Breaths from the conversions of the Tomes of Secret, and I bought a ton from the auction house in hopes that the prices would go up, but the auction house closed. No biggie. I have a ton of them now, on the other hand, and with the new patch, I've been working on getting the new version of Yang's, Deadman's, and Raps of Clarity. The method has been to Kadala the rare versions and then just upgrade them. I'm actually out of white mats, and so on to the Battlefields of Eternity. Then again, I could continue to just see if there is a max in the interface for all of these materials. Well, that's one guy's year. I hope everyone sees an in-game and IRL, which is one hell of a game, I hear, is happy and healthy. Your Iron Wolf back home, Sergeant Psycho.
Always great to hear from Sergeant Psycho.
Yep. Thank you for that year in review. And he also went through and sent in a item of the week, which we'll be getting to in a little bit.
Excellent. And as a spoiler, maybe he's already figured it out since his email, but there is a limit on the crafting materials tab. It goes to 99,999. And then it gets an asterisk, and if you hover over it, it'll tell you how much you have above that. But that's the highest digit number that'll be displayed.
Mm-hmm.
Which I had veiled crystals of on hardcore. I had way over 99,999.
There you go.
But that's I forgot that Tomes of Secret converted. Remember? Remember?
You remember?
They had the 1 through, what was it, 60 crafting mats.
Mm-hmm.
And those all converted to when they just combined it all to one system with reusable parts, veiled crystals, arcane dust. That's oh man, memory lane.
Oh, that was that was well after Reaper too, wasn't it?
I think it wasn't with Reaper. I think they still had the dual. Oh, oh my God, you remember the remember the legendary things that you had to go around to all the purples to get?
Yeah, that was at the beginning of Reaper when you actually had to get the legendary crafting materials, which they kind of brought back in a different form with the bounty mats. But yeah, you had to go through and get those. Oh man,
wow!
And I had almost completely forgotten about Tomes of Secret at all. You know, to begin with.
As a thing.
Yeah. Because that was the old Death's Breath.
That's right.
Yeah.
There was like a sub-market for that, though. It was, I remember, I think even Flux was talking about, like, on hardcore, it was a good way to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Or make gold, I should say. Wow. Crazy.
The good old days. Yeah, I need to go back through and do at some point is I've got the old strategy guides for D3 that I have to go through and just look and see how bad they are.
I have those too. It's funny, like a strategy guide for a game that can be patched is just a silly thing, but we buy them anyways.
Yeah, I went through and I bought the stupid freaking collector's editions just because, you know, ooh, it's got a hardcover, and I really like Diablo, so yay.
That's right. This will be on my coffee table, collecting dust.
Yeah, and I went out, and when they released the console version, I bought the hardcover strategy guide for that one too, even though it was like the same exact thing.
Wow, you're hardcore.
Just because.
You're hardcover.
Oh, I see what he did there.
Hey.
Yep.
Fidget spinners, memes. All right. We do have one more email here to hit up before the year finally closes off on us. This one comes from Valen. Wonder if it's any relation to Prophet Valen. It's spelled differently. In any case, I tried to make a WoW thing. I'm sorry. It says, "Hey guys."
An effort was made.
I tried. I wasn't prepared. So, it's been a while. It's been a while. No, not the song from Stained. Since my last email, a lot of stuff happened, such as life, children, hey, congrats, hurricanes, BlizzCons, sicknesses, patches, work, seasons, music, primals, movies, necromancer, fun, condemns, Jedi, deaths, and I haven't missed a show. I wish you guys, Ninebeard and Leviathan, all the Diablo community, and the people in chat a happy new year. And then he submitted a couple of items of the week and says, I know you guys only show one item, but one's for 9, the other's for Leviathan. And maybe we'll see one of those. Cheers from Croatia, Valen.
Now that reminds me of one of my other favorite moments of 2017 was when, you know, Willie got my name wrong, or right, I guess, on the Heroes Power Hour. They were going through and plugging the other shows, and he called me Ninebeard instead of Nineball. And my Twitter handle has never changed since.
Yeah, that's a 2017 highlight.
Yeah.
Ninebeard. Can never shave again.
I guess not. I guess not. And so with that, I guess we're going to go ahead and just hop into items of the week.
Items! Oh, should we leave this in 2017?
Oh, come on. We have the only thing that I will approve of leaving our one bumper. That's not even a bumper because we redo it every time in 2017 is if we actually get bumpers made.
All right. There's another challenge accepted.
Yeah. Which, hey, if you're out there and you're looking for exposure and doing voice acting work and just happen to be a community manager for Blizzard Entertainment looking to do some voice acting, we have a proposition for you. That wasn't targeted at all.
Not at all.
Dainty. Just throwing
Brandy.
it out there.
I'm just talking about the drink.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. And you were just saying an adjective.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right. Anyways, moving on. Our first item of the week comes here from Sergeant Psycho. This is an Ancient Traveler's Pledge that's rolled 968 dexterity. Critical hit damage increased by 100%. Critical hit chance by 10%. Reduces the cooldown of all skills by 8. Secondary affixes of 199 lightning resist and 74% extra gold from monsters. Nice, beautiful, beautiful item there.
It's funny, when I first glanced at this, I was like, oh yeah, it's a primal. And then I was like, wait a minute, look at that. Wait a minute, that's an ancient.
Yeah.
Look at those stats.
And nothing's been rerolled on it.
Gotta get a socket. Maybe take the dex off?
Yeah, take the dex off for a socket. If you don't need to go through and try and get... Yeah, I can't think of anything else that would be better than the socket. Yeah, well.
I dig it.
Yeah, moving on. Our next item is from Oz. This one is Primal Trangle's Corroded Fang. And this bad boy clocks in at 3,220 DPS, rolled with 10% bonus damage, 1,000 intellect, has been re-rolled for 7% increased attack speed, has a level 80 augment for 400 intelligence, the secondary affix of plus 20 maximum essence, and of course the legendary property of your Curse Scythe rune for Grim Scythe now has a 100% chance to apply curses, and you deal 200% increased damage to curse enemies, and a socket. I do.
Yes.
Yep. I do like how Trangle's Corroded Fang has been taking the place in a lot of builds lately, or at least in this season, over the Shadow Hook.
Yeah, that was really one everyone was trying to squeeze into every build. It was in the cube, just de facto, as a status quo thing. But you're right, yeah. Trangle's.
Yep. And then our final item of the week, coming in here from Valen, is Primal String of Ears. I believe this one was the item that was supposed to go to you. And this one has the 650 strength, 650 vitality, has been re-rolled for 130 resistance to all elements, 15% life, the secondary affix of 7,000 life after each kill, and reduces the damage from melee attacks by 30%.
It's literally perfect for Condemned Crusader, because right now, the meta... Well, it depends on where you're at with Paragon in particular, but if your defense... if you're kind of in the middle-ish of your Paragon, then String of Ears is being swapped in right now. The other option is Witching Hour, but this is beautiful. This is what I'm looking for my belt slot at the moment, so I'm pretty sure it's what I've been targeted here, you lucky son of a gun. Because even with the life after each kill, it's beautiful because it helps you sustain through the rift, and you kill a lot of trash mobs, so that's where you're getting all that healing from. Lucky.
And
lucky?
Are you just a little bit salty?
I'm trying not to be, but I mean, that guy's basically a dick for sending that in.
But you know what?
Can we ask me?
What would our fans be like if they weren't also dicks to us? Because in every episode, someone has to be a dick.
That's right. I was gonna say, can we simultaneously ask for contributions to items of the week, but then also hate when we get them?
Yes, I mean we've been doing it for forever.
Yep.
Going all the way back, going all the way back to our very first Tasker and Theos.
Oh God.
Yeah.
That's what I meant to mention when you were telling your story, because that definitely was season 1, because that was the season of no Tasker and Theo for you.
Yeah. Oh, those were the days. And then also, even though we normally only do the one item, per person, we do have the other item here that he wanted to go through and show, which is the bottomless potion of regeneration, because it restores an additional 99,999 life over 5 seconds.
Oh man! For everybody that wanted the Arnold voice, boom.
Yeah, there you go.
Nailed it.
Yeah, and with that, and my camera is not wanting to click back over.
Dun dun dun.
Hello. There we go.
Yes.
All right. I'm back. But,
He's back.
With that, is there anything else that you'd like to go through and mention or hop on before we start going through and hit into the outros?
Just a thank you. Thank you to the community for allowing us to have another full year of shows. I think, because I remember this time last year, one of the big things we were hoping to correct was, a bit more consistency, because 2016 was a rough year in terms of so many solo shows and missed shows, rescheduling, and just not being able to kind of keep it together. Yeah. I want to say that we did a much better job in 2017 of just keeping it going. We had some solo shows because it can't be avoided to some degree.
I think actually the beginning of 2017 was almost 100% solo shows.
Was it? I have to go back and look.
It was flip-flopping back and forth between you and me with who was doing a solo this and then a solo that.
We found our footing, though.
Yeah, that we did. It was
a good year. So yeah, just a shout out to the community, the audience, everybody for sticking with us, allowing us to have a podcast where we can talk about our favorite game and have you guys interact with us and keep the commentary going. And here's hoping that 2018 we'll have plenty of stuff to still talk about. Yeah,
certainly. Maybe we can go through and get some more guests on the show, and just kind of like focus in without any more news or anything to report about, at least for right now. And if there is no PTR, then season 13 itself, probably not too much news until we go at least like a month into that one, with potentially maybe a PTR going into season 14. We finally do that idea that we had of going and getting more people on the show, like Wolf Crier, who is just on, and some other personalities.
Absolutely, yeah. I've already started to stoke those fires.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and so with that, gonna go out into the outro. We did have a new 5-star review. This one comes in from Virtual User, who goes and writes, "Love listening to you guys talk Diablo. I'm just a casual player, usually only get 200 to 300 Paragon during a season, but still love it. Keep up the great work on the podcast." So thank you for that review there, virtual user. We always appreciate any 5-star reviews that you have to go through and give to the show, whether it be on iTunes or Stitcher, Google Music. I think we're also on, and whatever else that you happen to go through and find us. Those reviews actually do go a long way. Even if you don't want to go and type something out, just going and leaving a little 5-star review on there makes the show more viewable. And we're committed to go through and do this show for as long as we possibly can. And it just helps building that base going into whatever Diablo 4, Diablo Next might give. We will be here and we will be covering that. So we look forward to what this next year has to offer. But if you want to go through, send in your own stories or drop in your own items of the week, feel free to drop us a line at Westmarch Workshop at blizzpro.com. And don't forget, we still have that Rise of the Necromancer pack to go through and give away, care of Watson. You just have to answer the question, what was the name of the ship that Kara Nightshadow took from Gale Cool to Luke Ghislaine in the novel Legacy of Blood? Send your answer in at Westmarch at blizzpro.com for your chance to win. You can also follow us on Twitter. We're at the WM Workshop, and we live stream here every other Wednesday night on Twitch at twitch.tv/BlizzPro, and that is at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. And if you like what we do here, feel free to go ahead, click that follow button, check out what everything else that we have to offer within the Blizzard community of games. We have Mondays is Well Met, our Hearthstone podcast. Tuesdays is the Hero Power Hour, and Thursdays is Payload, our Overwatch podcast. And if you like what we do or like what the other channels do, feel free to go ahead and hit that subscribe button to help support all of our shows and the BlizzPro network in general. Which you can also find, a lot of the topics for Diablo and Diablo news and coverage over at diablo.blizzpro.com. We're even in game. We're the BlizzPro clan. We've got plenty of openings right now as we're kind of in the lull of the season. So feel free to come and join us if you want to chat and play. We also have the Westmarch Workshop community if you don't want to leave your current clan. We even we're on Discord. You can find us at discord.gg/BlizzPro. And you can, of course, follow us individually. I am at 9ballgamer on Twitter, and I am, at twitch.tv/9ball if and when I ever actually stream again. That remains to be seen. Of course, my lovely co-host here, you can find him at LeviathanD3 on Twitter and twitch.tv/Leviathan111. And with that, you got anything else, sir?
That's all she wrote.
And that is how 2017 ends for the Westmarch Workshop. Just bye.
Just bye.
Just bye.
Bye, Felicia.
Bye, Felicia. Cannot wait until we get whatever 2018 has in store for us. It's got to be something good, right? It's got to be, right?
It's gotta be. It's gotta be.
Gots to.